Oh, well met, sinner. No, that's not a Shadowbringers reference. I just call him like I see him. What, you think you're innocent? Have you ever stood in an AoE just to do a little more damage? Stood outside of my healing range because your favorite place to cast is Narnia? Gotten 5 vulnerability stacks and had the audacity to complain when the AoE took you from 100% to 0? No, none of you are free of sin. So while you're here, you may as well get on your knees and beg me, beg the 12 for forgiveness. Oh no, dear. I was just talking to the elementals. They told me to kill you all. I always manage to talk sense into them, though. But why should I when you're all so unworthy of my compassion? If we all just hold hands and forgive each other, I'm sure we can create a brighter duty finder. And by bright, I mean I'm gonna cast holy until every last one of you is a disgusting, putrid, decaying, rotting little corpse! Oh no, human. I'm sorry. I have no idea what came over me. I think I'm just tired, you know? Gets a little exhausting when you carry the weight of the entire party on your back every day. Now, where was I? Oh, right. You came here to hear my seminar on why you should be a white mage, didn't you? Yes, of course. Have a seat. White mage is a great job, and everything about it feels so great to play. It is designed very well. It is the best healer because it has free cure trait. Boy, do I love free cure procs. They help me save so much MP. And no one ever liked fluid aura. You had to weave fluid aura for damage, which required a brain cell. And I hate thinking, so it was bad. And Arrow 3 had a really pretty animation, which made my siwwy glamour cat girl look very cute, but it distracted me, and I died in raids. So while I regret the removal of Arrow 3, I know the devs are doing what's best for me. We have always gotten some really great changes on White Mage, like the Lily system in Stormblood, which was very helpful and well designed. And then it only got even better in Shadowbringers. See, other healers have to do things like weave their off-global cooldown heals while they cast a Malefic, Broil, or Dosis, but I get to lose damage, see the entire beautiful animation of my heals without getting interrupted by a silly little glare. And then I get a very satisfying reward from using all 3 of my lilies. Calm your jealousy, loser. Yeah, I'm talking about Afflatus Misery, which is totally not a DPS loss. Thank you, Squeenix. Very cool. Anyway, Endwalker is also an amazing expansion for White Mage because we went from Holy and Glare to Holy 3 and Glare 3. Where's the 2? Anyway, we also adjusted Thin Air to have 2 charges and only work on 1 spell, which is great. I agree. Thin Air was just too powerful on a healer that has no utility and has an identity centered around being able to constantly pump out powerful heals. It's very fun to run out of mana when big heals are the one perk you bring to the raid. And then we got an extra charge of Divine Benison, which is really nice, you know? I wouldn't want an extra charge of anything useful like a size or tetragrammaton. That would be too much. Too hard to keep track of for my tiny healer brain. I'm grateful for anything I get because small indie company. And it's been a rough expansion launch for the White Mages, humans. Wait. No, that's not true. It's been a rough 6 years of questionable job design, and the top shelf vodka ain't cutting it anymore, let's just put it that way. If the birth of White Mage was a strong and solid foundation, they haven't always done a good job of building on it. You may say I'm just blinded by nostalgia, that White Mage plays the same way now as it always did, and things were just as bad in the past. Maybe you're right, and maybe that's the problem. A Realm Reborn, the expansion that almost no one looks back on and says, wow, I wish we could go through that again. It had more than its fair share of flaws, and if you think White Mage is lacking off-global cooldowns now, it had exactly 0 back then and struggled with MP. But its identity as a pure healer was strong. Watching a Scholar try to AoE heal back then was fun. For a giggle. You think it's weak at AoE healing now? Listen, if Whispering Dawn and 1 Sucker didn't get the job done, trust me, when they added Indomitability, every scholar around the world simultaneously creamed their pants. In Heavensward, I'd say the devs blew it out of the park. Each skill White Mage got was something it really needed. Asylum, a size, tetragrammaton, chef's kiss. Mwah! Amazing work! Finally, it had some off-global cooldowns to work with, and Arrow 3 gave them something else to cast when zerging down big mob packs. But little did we know, 3.0 was the calm before the storm. Because while Astrologian was tragically underpowered on launch, every change after 3.0 and the introduction of job gauges would make one thing about healer design very clear. They had no idea what to do with it, and White Mage least of all. So ignoring the fact that Astrologian became overpowered at the end of 3.0, Heavensward was a great expansion for healers. Cool beans. But that would all change when the Stormblood Nation attacked. I'll be honest, I don't know what was going through the White Mage designer's head when it shipped out that way, but it was probably something that starts with H and ends with Entire, cause that dude must have been distracted out of his mind. 4.0 introduced the infamous, the one and only. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Lily system. So let's talk about that trash fire. Right now, lilies have a purpose. They're instant and potent heals that unlock access to Afflatus Misery. But in Stormblood, they could not have mattered less. I'm not exaggerating. This was quite possibly the worst idea the devs came up with for any job ever. Here's the big, amazing perk the lilies gave you in Stormblood. They lowered the recast time of Assize, Tetragrammaton, Divine Venison, and Asylum. Yes, let that sink in. If you were lucky, you might get to use them a few extra times in an instance. But wait, that's not even the best part. You want to know how you built up lilies back then? Drumroll, please. Casting Cure 1 and Cure 2. Yes, it required you to do the one thing healers try to do the least. GCD healing for a worthless perk. That was White Mage's big mechanic. Needless to say, most players completely ignored the lilies because that was obviously what the devs intended for them to do anyway. Seriously, an extremely popular job with an active player base, and this is all they could come up with? Heck, even Plenary Indulgence was difficult to use back then. Shadowbringers improved on the lily system by having them become what they are today, a part of the toolkit that you'll definitely use eventually, because believe it or not, you still try not to. The devs decided that using lilies should be a DPS loss for whatever reason, even though they took energy drain away from scholars specifically to encourage healers to, well, heal. Sadly, like a kid who's too poor for braces, the gap only grew with the potency increase for Glare 3 and Endwalker. To add insult to injury, they've also decided to do away with the elemental aesthetic, so now you just have white sparkly stuff instead of anything related to your long-forgotten conjurer roots. Oh wait, there is Aquaveil, which is ironically the best skill White Mage got for Endwalker, depending on who you ask. But the removal of Wind, Earth, and the only other water spell from the White Mage kit is still a big problem with identity, if you could even say White Mage still has one. Unfortunately, there's no fraud department in 14. No one can help you dispute the MP charge on your own spells when the Astrologian version is 20% cheaper despite being the same potency. Now, when people talk about jobs in this game, other than losing brain cells, another thing you'll notice is the idea of a job's identity. For example, you wouldn't expect a paladin to heal themselves by stealing the life force from their enemies. Dark Knights, stop crying. You'll also hear claims that job identity has been slowly dying every expansion because of homogenization or whatever. Not that I know what those big words mean, but if I did, I would partly agree and say White Mage is definitely one of them. See, White Mage has always been the job that heals more, but not really. Sure, Astrologian has no Cure 3 equivalent, but as far as Medica and Helios go, they're exactly equal to each other. Essential Dignity has more potency and 2 charges, while Tetragrammaton gets 1 use on a 60-second cooldown. I could bore you to tears by drawing lots of other comparisons, like Astrologian being a bottomless tank of MP, and Neutral Sect being beyond broken, but I'll skip all that and get right to the point. When White Mage is classified as the healer that heals big, but Astrologian heals just as much and buffs the party, you start to realize you've been conned. Oh, and I just want to leave a big happy shout out to the role actions added in 4.0, because they quite literally took skills from White Mage and gave them to everyone else, including Full Protect, Asuna, Lucid Dreaming, and Divine Seal. Then they had the audacity to take Divine Seal and give it back to them later as Temperance. Did they think we wouldn't notice? This isn't new, Jerry. Just because you put some shiny wings on it, you think I'm gonna... Well, I mean, the wings do be looking kinda cool though. Not to be like they're taking our jobs, but yeah, they do have a history of removing White Mage skills and making them universal, and they like to let Astrologian do pretty much everything White Mage is capable of, if not better, with no consequences, so that's fun. The part that's real manga-esque about all of this, humans? Fixing white mage is so easy. I could hire a middle school Minecraft modder to hack into the system and do it overnight. The easiest way would be to make a Flatus Misery a very slight DPS gain. If you want to go a little crazy, make Lily spells OGCD like the rest of the healers have. These changes alone would make white mage feel like a completely different and much improved job, but this is the part where I lay down my conspiracy theory, because I'm onto the devs and their schemes. I think that white mage may never see these small yet impactful changes. Why? Because they don't think it's necessary. White Mage has a very large player base, the largest player base behind Reaper last time I checked, and it's possible that the devs look at that and say, well, if so many people are playing it, that means there's no problem with it. In fact, maybe we should nerf it so that more people will play Astrologian. But that fails to address the reason people play White Mage over Astrologian and vice versa. White Mage has always been the low IQ healer, the first healer you can choose at game start, the aerith job that series fans are drawn to, and this has given it a brain-dead reputation that's cursed it to only having simplistic gameplay that isn't always on par with what the other healers can offer. Part of me wonders if they think having lilies on the off-global cooldown would be too difficult for new players to understand, which... Can we unpack that, Yoshi P? I just want to talk. I want to leave you with two things. Number one, I don't main White Mage, nor have I ever mained White Mage. The playstyle has never been for me, and I definitely didn't change my mind for Endwalker. I do, however, feel obligated to fight for my White Magey boys and girls, because even if their job is considered easy, they often get ignored in favor of complaining about changes the other healers are going through. I am also guilty of that. And two, this video is not about whether a job is meta or viable. In case a condescending Redditor hasn't let you know recently, every job can clear all content, but that doesn't mean that the job is fun or that it doesn't need changes or some TLC. And that's all white mages are really asking for. And Dark Knights, please fix Dark Knight. I'm begging you, please fix Dark Knight. Please, I'm begging you, I'm begging you, I'm begging you, I'm begging you, I'm begging you. Listen, Astrologian's card system being a mess is not an excuse to ignore the red-hooded stepchild, okay? Mic drop. Wait, I have to pick it back up for this cringe track I'm about to lay on ya. It's the White Mage Rage, pop a bottle of gin. If I flood the world once, bet I'll do it again. I'm not telling you how and not telling you when, cause I like it when you're scared. Say it with me, amen. Bye-bye, elementals, hit, block, unfriend. Through with my non-days, I'm a beehive hen. Cause you know my ass size makes the cat girls bend. They want that Benedict, don't need to pretend.